I've got another email question for you, Congressman. This one comes from Joe Rush of Goffstown, and Joe asked us, what is your position on illegal immigration and the control of our national borders? Mr. Texas?
It's good follow-up question. You know, it'd be pretty tough for any candidate to come by New Hampshire this year and say, I'm for illegal immigration. Everybody's against illegal immigration, and I'm strongly against illegal immigration. But I voted for the immigration bill that came up, and it's a pretty strong bill. It was far from perfect. But building fences and putting machine guns on the border is not my answer to the immigration problem. I don't think you can solve the immigration problem if you don't solve the economic problems. If you don't deal with the welfare state, you won't be able to handle this problem. For instance, there's a tremendous motivation for illegals to come in. One, of course, is to work, and you can't take that away from them. But there's also a strong motivation to bring their families now because they know they're going to get amnesty. And I don't believe in amnesty. That should be illegal because it's breaking our immigration laws. I know as a physician and as an OB doctor that I had been required to go to the emergency room under federal law to be there within 30 minutes to deliver an illegal alien. And they became citizens and automatic benefits. The incentives are too great. If you don't deal with that, the incentives are going to be too high. Whether it's birthright citizenship or whether it's amnesty. But what about them getting on our Social Security? They can get on our Social Security by working 18 months as an illegal. They go back to Mexico and qualify for our benefits. They even talked about opening up a Social Security office in Mexico City. That should be denied. I have a bill that would deny all benefits to illegals. Nothing. They shouldn't have it. I mean, you have to be an American citizen to qualify as far as I'm concerned. Emergency rooms. You know, compassion. Of course. In the old days, like I told you about Santa Rosa Hospital, there was compassion. Nobody even asked who you were. They took care of you. But today, they come to our emergency rooms, very, very expensive. They demand bilingual education. They come to our emergency rooms. They come into our schools, and nobody can deny any benefits. That should be done. That should be denied. At the same time, our welfare system also discourages some of our people from working when they should be working. So the jobs go begging. And they come over. And we need them. You know, some of the industries really need workers. And I have a lot of people coming in. We need more people to come in here and work. We can't find the jobs. They're not trained and they won't work. So it's a major, major problem. But you should enforce the law and deny the benefits. And now that they know they're going to get amnesty, and I'm worried that they will, under the current situation that we have, if we don't change this, I'm afraid that is going to pass. And that's going to compound our problem. It will compound our economic problems as well because of this runaway spending and runaway deficit and obligations that we have.
Congressman, thank you. Let's get back to the live audience questions. We have another question right here, I believe, close to the end. Stand up. Tell us your name and where you're from.
Marty Bender. I'm from Webster, New Hampshire. I heard the other day that independent voters want more civil liberties and less government spending. So how come the Libertarian Party isn't making much more of an impact?
That's a pretty good question. Of course, there was a time when I worked in the Libertarian Party, and it didn't go all that well percentage-wise in numbers. You know, it was mentioned in the introduction that I ran in '88, and people say, well, what percent did you get? How many votes did you get? And, of course, you always have to put a good spin on everything you do. And I said, well, I can't quite remember exactly the number, but I came in third. The laws are doing this. You know, there's a conspiracy out there. It's a conspiracy of the establishment and the elitists and the corporations and all these things, and they control both parties. And so, therefore, the laws say that if you're a third party, another option, whether it's the Constitutional Party, the Taxpayers Party, the Green Party, the Libertarian Party, the laws are so biased against you that you spend all your time and energy and money on trying to get on the ballot. Unless you happen to be a Ross Perot. I mean, he did better, but he still had a tough time. But he had, hundreds of millions of dollars to spend to hire people and lawyers to get them on the ballot. So it's designed to make sure that the control of your lives and our policies. The two major parties don't have a lot of difference in their foreign policy. You might say, well, that's not true. The Democrats right now are trying to stop this war over in Iraq. On non-binding resolutions at the same time behind the scenes, they're all supporting the notion, well, we may well tomorrow have to bomb Iran. So whether it's monetary policy, everybody believes in printing money. How can conservatives have big government and the liberals have big government if you can't print money? You let the little guy suffer from the inflation. Foreign policy and monetary policy, entitlement policy, they're very, very similar. And therefore, the election laws are very, very similar, and that's one of the reasons. But I never want to discourage people, fortunately, and that's why New Hampshire is such a neat place, is that it's a forum where people with different ideas can come and talk. The major candidates right now are talking about $100 million to get off the ground to run a national campaign. I mean, this is big bucks, and the money is controlling the politics of it all, and the people with different options are getting squeezed out. The big question is how many people out there, good people in the Republican Party, good people in the Democratic Party, good people, independents and third party, how many are out there who are sick of it all? I have a theory. There's a large number out there, and that if they ever could come together, some surprises could occur.
Congressman, we've got another email question for you to answer. This one's from the AARP. They ask, as president, how will you move the issues from rhetorical debate to real solutions? Congressman?
On what issue, I wonder? Everything?
AARP? I'm assuming it could be anything
Social
retired.
Security
You bet.
and
Health care coverage, prescription drug benefits, whatever you like.
Well, I guess you have to be careful about how broad a term you have for rhetorical, because, as a believer in debate, everything, I guess, could be construed, if you don't like it, as being rhetorical. But I'm a strong believer that politicians aren't worth all that much, and that people get the government they deserve and they want. A lot of people have wanted big government, for various reasons. Some like to go marching off to the world, and others like everybody to be taken care of. So there is a consensus. So you need a lot of debate, and the people's minds have to be changed. Eventually, the people in the Soviet system found out that it was not viable. It was economically done with. And the people, there was a consensus, and there was no violence. It just disappeared. And miraculously, we didn't have to fight them. They had 30,000 nuclear bombs. That's why I argue we ought to be talking to people who don't even have nuclear weapons, So it has to start there. It starts with the people, then it starts with getting better people into Congress. It starts with having a president that's willing to listen and talk about these things. But I put a lot of recognition, I still would as a president, that the Congress should assume more responsibility for itself. I, as a president, for instance, would not be assuming that I had the authority to go to war. So you have to put this burden back on the Congress. The Congress should be like the board of directors, and they should represent the people. And you should do your best to influence them in a certain way. If they do things you don't like, you have the right to veto.